Hi, so for our analysis on an influential figure, we chose Serena Williams. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about her impact and her background and where she is today. My name is Natalie.
My name's Abby,
My name is McKenna.
and we are the female Grand Slammers.
So a little bit about her background briefly. She was born in 1989. She has always been a very athletic figure. She's always strived for perfection throughout her whole life up until she became in the pros. She's been coached by her parents. They always strived to have Serena be a great player. And throughout her life, she has participated in many competitions, many professional competitions, even at a young age. She started at 14. Overall, she has won 13 Grand Slams, which is the second most ever by a female. And she was the only other player, male or female, to accomplish the career Golden Grand Slam. And she's also won 2 Olympic gold medals and 5 US Opens. She has been a very influential figure because she really influences young female athletes to be great athletes and tries to strive past the gender norms and the racial norms that are discriminated on her and that she's always been faced throughout her life. So
The critical question we chose for Serena Williams is how has the culture of African American females in sports changed since Serena Williams, who is a very prominent female African American tennis player, changed since she has gained a following?
Okay, and then moving on to the social issue, Serena Williams is one of the most profound women in sports and has been known for standing up for women's rights and racial issues as well. And so once again, she's fighting for and supporting women of color throughout multiple facets of life by donating money. She's also fought for women's rights and equality by standing up for herself and speaking out against the double standards and the pay gap that still is in place. She's also started the Serena Williams Foundation and has built 2 schools in Kenya. She again has written an article in 2017 about the pay gap and needing the equality and equity to subsidize that pay gap and to make the pay equal and profitable for both men and women.
So Serena, throughout her life, has always faced a very strong public opinion, and it is mostly for her body type. She is very built and very muscular, which is not typical or not stereotypical for a female athlete to have. They say she's too manly looking, or she should be participating in men's tennis rather than women's tennis. And she has spoken out a lot about that and going past stereotypes and what women should be looking like. And she's been criticized for her manly behavior. For example, she had an incident where she slammed a racket on the ground because she thought there was an unfair call, and she was supposedly rude to the umpire, and she was fined, and it was because she was not ladylike. But there have been other instances where white males have done this, if not worse, and they have faced no backlash or any criticism for this. And she was really criticized for this, and more criticized than anyone else, which really had to do with her gender. And she's always been seen as having thick lips and like having these um, stereotypes that a Black female may have. She's always had those projected onto her. And as an athlete, she has found that to be a really big problem because that's really all that she's seen. And she's not really recognized for her success. She's more recognized for her appearance and the mistakes she's made.
So the theory that we chose to use to view the critical question was critical feminist theory. We felt that this was the most fitting because Serena Williams took to approach the social issue of women, specifically those who are African American and are marginalized and mistreated in the world of sports. As discussed in Dr. Hagobian's previous presentation, sports are gendered activities that often reproduce a narrow form of masculinity that celebrates only a few, therefore marginalizing many others. And this really fit directly with Serena's goals and what she fought for, because through her efforts, the tennis world has changed, and she has really fought for fostering change against those rigid stereotypes that are placed on women, and specifically African American women in sports. And so that's why we chose critical feminist theory.
So just to touch again on race and sports, she's been attacked for her body type and her race because has not been seen much in history that an African American female has been winning this often and winning this much. And she has been proving stereotypes wrong. And a lot of people have said that her appearance is inherently different from other bodies. And the norms for physical appearance among females as predominantly white cultures have been racialized so that Black female athletes exist in a realm outside the normal range of acceptance. So basically her body type, for whatever reason, is not accepted, but even though she obtains this body type, she is not recognized as being like a great athlete. And as I said before, she's more targeted for her racial and sexist comments than the celebration on herself.
Okay, and then moving on to gender performance, this can be defined as the idea that gender is something inscribed in daily practices, learned and performed based on cultural norms of femininity and masculinity. So in this case, Serena Williams embodies the idea of gender performance in a traditionally unorthodox way. This is for many reasons. Tennis has traditionally been a predominantly white sport just because of the racism that stems all the way back from like country clubs and also paying for equipment and many more things. She's also a Black female athlete which doesn't really traditionally fit into the society set norms of playing tennis. So just a recap, she's Black contrary to being white, female contrary to being male, and she's perceived as more masculine in the contrary of being a petite, feminine, and ladylike woman.
Finally, the third course concept we chose to focus on was hegemony in sport, and this can be defined as a framework where stereotypical masculine traits are overemphasized, playing a central role in sport, partly due to an excessive focus on winning. So, as discussed in the textbook, very rigid and ongoing conservative gender ideologies, structured inequalities, and sex segregation has held girls back from challenging boys' hegemony in sports. And so, as pertaining to Serena Williams, she's received endless scrutiny and unnecessary attention on particular aspects of her life when being compared to the men in the world of sports. So, for example, her body image, as discussed by both Mckenna and Natalie, she is a more muscular female athlete than the typical stereotypical female athlete in the world of sports. And because of that, she's been deemed as manly or overly aggressive and overly sexualized, which is not something that really should be a focus, considering she actually is such a talented athlete. As Natalie mentioned before as well, the racket incident where she became a little bit frustrated, and that resulted in her slamming a racket on the ground when, as Natalie mentioned before too, many other male athletes have probably carried out acts just like this or even worse potentially and really haven't received the media coverage that she did. And finally, her personal life, as she is a mother, and ignoring the fact that she's a mother and a successful athlete. They choose to focus on in the media more so the fact that she missed her child's first steps or things that really should be celebrated about her. The media chooses to focus on things that are negative about her to hold female African American athletes back rather than letting them flourish.
All right, and then answering our critical question, we all believe that Williams' culture and her embodiment of femininity has positively changed the sports industry for female athletes and minority athletes. Williams has given aspiring female athletes the belief in themselves to strive to be their best. She's also devoted time to give back to their community and to support minorities through mentoring tennis camps. And she's also devoted time and money to create the development of a tennis center in Washington, D.C. And so these are just a few examples of all the positive things that Serena Williams has done to give back to her community and to give back to the tennis world. And so, yeah, we believe that Serena Williams has definitely had a very positive influence and has changed the tennis world for female minorities for the better. So
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, shit.